What's up? Hello, everyone, YouTube, the world. How's it going? Sorry for the lack of uploads. I've been feeling like absolute garbage. So I've just barely been streaming on Twitch, holding myself together for like the last week. And I was out of town for a few days, and I was just streaming, and yeah, came home sick. So perfect thing. I've been trying to find something to really talk about that I can put my energy to that doesn't make my head explode with anger. So let's talk about this difficulty in video games discussion that has been coming up recently. Last couple of days, I guess. Although the article I'm looking at, Den of Geeks, is just from a day ago. Thank you, Den of Geek, for actually having everything in one article versus like pieces. So let's get into this. Let's get into what was being said. So this guy, David Scott Jaffe, who is the director of the God of War games, was playing Metroid Dread, which I have no personal experience with. I played some Metroid games. I did not play this game. I've seen the part that he's at. I've seen some of gameplay, like first impressions walkthrough from another guy, so I know what this is. And he was stuck in this part that apparently there was an invisible like block that you had to destroy. There was no indication really that you needed to destroy it. There's no like flashing anything. There's no glowing something. There's none of that. It's just you had to destroy it. But there is a on the mini map. There's a like little part of the map afterwards. There's enemies past there. So he went on a rampage, bitching, complaining about the difficulty of games. Kena, Metroid, Returnal, all leading the march towards super challenging games. Maybe it's NES generation coming into their own as designers, but I fucking hate this shit. It's not an age thing. I never liked it, but it wasn't so rampant. It's like devs want to push players away. So we'll get into this. This is the meat and potatoes of all of it. That's the real big one that we're getting into. But he's gone on Twitter. He's been dealing with the Metroid fan base, or the troll base, because every fan base has its toxic trolls. So let's get into the first big part of this. I believe it's on here. Right? This is where the screenshot is. So the first part of this, let's talk about: do tutorials and tutorial screens make a game less difficult? The answer is no. If you think that tutorial screens make it like a tutorial screen solves an issue and makes a game less difficult, you're an idiot. You're a fucking idiot. It doesn't. To put my point in there, how many people rage at Sekiro? Right? Sekiro is an incredibly difficult game. It gives you tutorial screens out the fucking ass. There's so many of them. The people who speed run the game. Every time you see a speed run, there's a shitload of tutorials. They're like, yeah, this game has a lot of tutorials. It's still a difficult fucking game. Dark Souls games have tutorials. Like, if you don't have a tutorial, then your game is lacking something. It's incomplete. You're not teaching the player how to play the game because they never played this game before. Because a game should be able to be picked up by essentially a new person to the series and be played as long as the person knows how to play the game. But you need to be able to teach them. Whole point of a tutorial. So this opinion is really fucking stupid. Of like, dude, it showed you that. It's like, yeah, just because a tutorial shows you doesn't mean that something can't still be bullshit and stupid. Doesn't mean that. Like, again, Sekiro is the perfect example. There's a tutorial on blocking lightning. You can miss it. If you don't inspect it, it doesn't like come up for you. You have to inspect it. But then the next boss has lightning that it throws at you. Right? But there's also a thing of like the tutorial doesn't also, like tutorials and everything don't lead you to things that you need to get. So also in Sekiro, right after the first boss, there is a big bull animal boss. How do you beat this boss? With a specific tool that you're supposed to get in the game. Makes it a lot easier. That tool is somewhere in the area. But the game doesn't lead you there. It's off the beaten path. So you have to go find it. If you don't find that tool, that boss is 10 times harder. 10 fucking times harder. If you don't get that tool, the rest of the bosses are 10 times harder. Because it's a main tool you need throughout the game. You really do need that game. It's really not optional, that tool. But no tutorial leads you there. So tutorial doesn't make a game easier. It explains how you're supposed to play the game. So I guess I'm slightly on his side for this. That like, yeah, I'm super aware of the screen. It doesn't solve the issue. It doesn't. Like, a tutorial's meant to explain the game. It's not going to hold your hand through it, but it's supposed to explain the game. If it doesn't do that, then it's like the fault of the design of the game. Now, the second thing that's here that I want to talk about is the games that he uses as an example. I think there's hypocrisy here, especially with him. I forget it's on one of these screens. I think it's somewhere on his Twitter. He like quoted someone, and they essentially oh, right here. So speaking of making games intentionally hard, weren't you involved in that niche 2005 title that made me roll through a room full of spinning blades? Making fun of him that he made God of War that was put some difficult, stupid shit inside the game. That aside, I kind of get your point. Frustration is not part of the fun for me either. So I want to go into this because this is an important part. So yeah, I want to point out that like yeah, he was also involved in making stupid bullshit games. Now I don't know how Metroid Dread does its difficulty stuff. You know, is it something like that? It makes you restart pretty far back. Like that's a pretty far back like restart point. Then that's kind of bullshit. Does the game make it pretty easy to just go back there? Then it's a little less bullshit. All right, so you can see here that I highlighted Kenna. Because Kenna is like God of War. Now, these other two games, there are other games here that I would say do fall under this umbrella. Souls games, Sekiro, something like Super Meat Boy, Cuphead, sure. Hollow Knight to a certain point, because up to like the base game is not as super difficult as people want to believe. But everything after that is. So Metroid, I don't know. Again, I haven't played Metroid Dread. I don't even know if there's actually a difficulty thing in there. I wasn't really paying attention. So there might not be a difficulty like setting in there. But Returnal, yes, I will agree with. Yeah, Returnal is one of those games that pushes away certain players. Now, Kenna is different. Kenna is like God of War. Here's the thing. With Kenna, there's difficulty settings. So here's the real next important part that we're talking about. How do you make a difficult game less difficult? And how do you make an easy game more difficult? I know the answer may surprise you, but it's called difficulty settings. So there are plenty of games that do a very, very good job of this. A Souls-like game that is the perfect like intro to Souls games and gives you a perfect way to like get better by having different points of difficulty, with having essentially the game being the same. It's just a difficulty of, hey, enemies do more damage, you do less damage, there's a smaller parry window. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is a perfect job. It's the best Souls game out there. Because of this, it lets a casual player who really likes the story, actually kind of likes the combat and the gameplay, is really intrigued with the whole world and building of the game, but the game's just fucking hard, so they're just like, I really want to play it, but I can't. Boom! Go on easy mode. Right there. If you don't like it, hey, easy mode on that game might be like standard on another game, might be compared to hard mode on another game. Right? Just because you're on easy mode of a certain game, like, it doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. Right? All Kingdom Hearts games have easy, standard, and proud. Some are a lot easier than others. Having difficulty settings is what makes, like, it tailors the experience to everybody, personally. So that's why I say that Kenna doesn't fall under this bridge. And I don't know about Metroid. I have no idea. I haven't I don't know if it has. I don't believe it has. If it follows in regular other Metroid games, I don't believe it has a difficulty setting. But Returnal, yes, Returnal would be really good to have a difficulty switch. Just a simple like that. And if you're wondering why, like then there are the people. Then you can have an achievement or something in game, like give incentive to not play on the easier difficulty. Don't put like a super important story scene behind it. That would be stupid. But all you have to do is you're like, hey, you get this gun, you get this extra upgrade. You get this permanent upgrade because of the roguelike that it is. But Returnal, I will agree with, needs something like that for more casual people to come in and enjoy the game. Stuff like Neo, Demon Souls, Bloodborne, Dark Souls, Sekiro, they don't have this type of stuff. It would be really, really nice. The perfect game that is like a Souls-like game is Star Wars, and the game that's also not Souls-like, but also can have that level of difficulty that does it perfectly is Ghost of Tsushima. Now, here's a debate that I'm going to get real heat for this probably. Here's my hot take of the video. What's a better game, Sekiro or Ghost of Tsushima? Well, personally, I really like Sekiro. A lot of the things that it does, I like its story. I like its art style and aesthetic. I really like Sekiro. Ghost of Tsushima is a better game. It's better designed. I can argue certain points that I don't like in Ghost of Tsushima that I like better in Sekiro. Certain things in Sekiro that I like better in Ghost of Tsushima. But at the end of the day, it has difficulty settings. And they range from beginner mode, that's just enjoy the story, or the hardest mode, which is essentially one-shot me. But I'm so overpowered because I'm the protagonist that I can also one-shot arrow to the face most fucking enemies. Like, leave that open. If you don't do that, your game is designed worse. You're leaving and that's okay. They don't all have to be easy games, but then when people complain that it's hard, you don't get to just go, well, then other people don't think it's hard. Other people don't think it's hard. Other people that are much better gamers, but then you're saying that if you're not a good enough gamer, you can't play our game. That's the complaint, and that's warranted. 100%. You don't get to hide behind the umbrella that your fan base that's been with you for 15 years, who's gotten used to this, can just play the game and no problem. And people who just don't have the time, like people just don't have the time to sit here for hours and hours and hours and play one fucking level. They don't. Sometimes it's just like, hey, look, I don't have much downtime. I'm busy with my normal life. I just want to enjoy a game. This looks enjoyable. This is really fun. I like the story. But I can't enjoy it because it's too fucking hard. That I completely agree with. Kenna is the one that I don't agree with here, though. It has difficulty settings. You can play in beginner mode. Beginner mode's not hard. At all. It's really not. Like, it's slightly harder than beginner mode on other games, but it's not hard. It's a short game, too. There's lots of stuff in the game that makes it, like, broken and busted. You heal... You have full health after every match. Kenna on easy is easier than God of War on easy, personally. And to this statement, like a lot of people disagree. Like the thing is, this is just Reddit off of one thing, but this is the same sentiment on everywhere I've gone, every single comment thread, every forum board. Why should anyone care what this guy thinks? He's not relevant. Feel free to laugh at him. I think this guy's out of his fucking mind. Just fascinating to come from a guy who used to be so successful. And then right here, I can't gel with Drake because of the difficulty. But then he still says but that's not the game's fault. It's designed just fine. What do you mean? If it had a difficulty setting, then you would be able to gel with it. Right? Like the reason that you haven't played more than two. You played it 2 hours longer than I played any God of War game. Which, by the way, this if you couldn't enjoy God of War like 2019 on easy or 2018, whenever it came out, like it's not that hard of a game, really. Unless you're playing the super bosses, it's not that hard of a game. So if you can't gel with it, like I couldn't gel with Metroid Dread, but that's because it's too difficult. I mean, this is the perfect sentiment of like exactly what it means to be so like sucked into believing the bullshit of other people. I can't gel with it because of the difficulty, but that's not the game's fault. Yes, it is. The game, it's designed fine. It's not. If somebody likes the game and the series and it's too hard and there's no difficulty setting, the game is not designed well. Period. The end. It's not designed like that's what it is. Souls games are not designed as well as something like God of War 2018, Ghost of Tsushima, Marvel's Spider-Man. They're not designed as well from a difficulty standpoint. If you want to say there's other aspects of the game that's designed well, fine. Yeah, we're not talking about that. We're talking about difficulty. It's not designed well in terms of difficulty. I love Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight's not designed well as far as difficulty the later and later in the game you go, especially like post-game. It's not designed well. And game developers know this. Game developers are fully aware that this is an issue, especially with older titles. Like, look at something like Mega Man. I love Mega Man. Certain Mega Man games are really fucking hard, right? Or they're not really hard, they're unforgiving. Really cheap spots to have an instant kill death, whether it's falling through a bottomless pit, spikes, having something that one-shots you. There's lots of games that have that. I love Mega Man Zero. Zero has this all over in a lot of parts. So what did those developers do, though? Right? Mega Man Legacy Collection, Mega Man X Collection, Mega Man Z and Zero and ZX Collection. What did they do? They added essentially a tab that you could just turn on or off. I know the one because I play it more often in Mega Man X Collection. It's the Hunter mode, I believe is what it's called. And it essentially makes the game much easier. So if the game is too hard for you to get through and you just want to be able to play the bosses, get through the levels, beat the final boss, boom. Because there are just unforgiving things that just aren't in modern games anymore. Because it's not about replaying a level 17 times and that's where you get your replay value. It's about having an extended level that you get to just play more of. Because that's not there. That switch is there, though. That allows other people who weren't able to enjoy the game because it's just too hard. I like the game. I like the series. I really want to get into it. Everybody tells me to get into it because I love the music, or I love the level design, or I love this boss, or I love this character, but I just can't because it's too hard. That switch enables that. And if you think like what he's saying or what I'm saying is bullshit, Mega Man 11 is an easier game than the rest of them. There is much different shit in Mega Man 11. What does Mega Man 11 also have that Mega Man 2 doesn't have? That Mega Man X4 doesn't have? That Mega Man 02 doesn't have? What does it have? A difficulty setting. So I fully agree with him with his sentiment that, yeah, it's like devs want to push the players away. Some devs, it feels like they just want to push the players away. Totally agree with that. Does that mean all games? No. Does that mean Metroid Dread? I have no idea. I haven't played Metroid Dread. But if it's one of those games that doesn't have a difficulty setting, has a tutorial, and then makes things progressively harder, or just has things that are just hidden and hard to find, then yeah. Sure, you should. Then that's what a patch is for, to make things easier, right? Hey, here's a easy explorer mode. Right? Hidden walls now glow. So if you played the game and you had difficulty doing that, the walls can glow. You can turn this off and they won't, and you'll have a harder time. Like, that's a perfectly designed game where it's able to have those switches for you. So the whole crux of this really is, do tutorials make games easier? No. What's a better designed game, Ghost of Tsushima or Sekiro Shadows Die Twice? Ghost of Tsushima. And it's unfortunate because I really like Sekiro. I like Souls games. I'm not the biggest fan of them. I think Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is the best one out of them because it has that. So you can replay the game multiple times and get better instead of forcing your way through the first time and then probably rage quitting throughout halfway through it. Just being like, you know what? Fuck it. I wish I had the time to practice on this boss, but I keep getting my ass kicked and it's forever to get back here, so I can't really do that. Versus you just play the game on easy mode and then you progress your way through like a normal fucking game. You know, I love my example for all this stuff, although I've given like 6 examples already. It's Kingdom Hearts. I love Kingdom Hearts. You'll see if you come and join me on Twitch, twitch.tv/ Sage of Strawberries, I think. I don't know. I think that's a plug. I don't know. Actually, you might be going to the wrong URL. Whatever. If you have come and join me on Twitch and you see that I play Kingdom Hearts Rando, I make the game extremely difficult. I play it on critical mode. I randomize it so I don't have regular tools to get through the game that I need to. I need to go and find them. I have randomizers so I can randomize certain enemies. Enemy battles. I can randomize bosses. It makes it incredibly hard. And it's frustrating, but it's fun. I also have like 200-300 plus hours of playing the fucking game throughout my life. Probably close to like 300 or 400 hours. Honestly. But that game is perfect. The Kingdom Hearts series in general. That's why people say Kingdom Hearts 3 is such a shitty game. No, it's got problems. It's not a shitty game. It's got problems. Say it's a shitty game? How is it? Is it a shittier game than Sekiro? Unfortunately, no. Because the difficulty settings can be greatly adjusted. Besides the normal difficulty settings of beginner, standard, proud, and critical mode, which all have their different shortcomings, the game itself has these things called pro codes and easy codes, which allow you to choose. That's a DLC portion of it, I believe, but if you buy it on Epic, you already get it in there bundled. So at this point, Kingdom Hearts 3 base is like $10 anyway. So it has easy and pro codes that make the game easier. You can play on critical mode with easy codes. So if there's certain things that you don't like, you just kind of brush through it a little bit. You can play on proud mode with pro codes. Be like, hey, I don't like critical because of some of the things that it does, but I can make the game harder. You could forcibly just not do things. Hey, the game is giving me this basically triangle to win button. I don't have to use it. Kingdom Hearts games do a fantastic way of introducing new players to a series, giving you lots of options to be able to do whatever the fuck you want, and then as you get harder and harder and harder in the difficulties and you learn the game, because that's the most important part, is learning the game. It's not that, oh, the game's too hard or this is too bullshit. No, you need to learn what you need to do in certain sections. There's certain things that you should be doing for certain battles. The game lets you learn because you can progressively go up and up and up in the difficulty. You can use more or less things and adjust it whatever way you want. Right? If you play Sekiro and you hate the lightning stuff, be like, hey, I just don't like lightning deflection. It looks dope as shit. It's fucking awesome. I just don't like it. Too bad. You're not going to beat the game. You're literally not going to beat the game. If you're like in Dark Souls, hey, I love Dark Souls and Neo. I hate a stamina bar that essentially stops you in your tracks when it's empty. It can be emptied very easily. And you're essentially one shot at that point because you're just a sitting open target and you can't do anything and you're just going to die. Well, too fucking bad. If only you didn't take half your health bar with one hit. But that's the game. So they are not as greatly designed as other games. Right? And as much as I would love to say Returnal is not one of those games, Returnal can be very easy the more and more you go through it. Very much like, I would say like Hades, but actually Hades is a lot easier than Returnal. Returnal could be very, very, very hard. The more and more you play it, you're just going to get better, though. And the developers have put in things there to make your experience a lot easier. So it really depends. It really depends. But something like a Souls-like game, Hollow Knight, Cuphead, yes, they do push away certain players from playing their games. Which, if that's what you want, if you want to just make the most difficult game out there, you're more than welcome to from software. But when people bitch and complain they can't play your game because it's too hard, and you don't add a difficulty setting, and you don't intend to with future games, and you get flack for that, then that's justified. Souls fans are going to be pissed at me. Sekiro fans are going to be really pissed at me. That's fine. But you can all learn something from something like the Mega Man collections or Ghost of Tsushima. You can learn from them. Make a difficulty setting. Who cares? Put something behind the difficulty setting. Put an achievement. Put an extra armor. Put something special. Doesn't matter. Kingdom Hearts does this. Kingdom Hearts puts specifically important story stuff behind the super hard secret boss. But you know what? You can play that secret boss on easy mode now and still get the story thing. Right? Kingdom Hearts, I'm going to piss off Kingdom Hearts 2 fans right here. Kingdom Hearts 2, you can't get the secret ending on beginner mode. Can't get it. Kingdom Hearts 3, you can. Why? Because some people can't beat the super boss on harder than easy mode or normal mode and barely scrape by. They can't do that on hard mode or super hard mode. They can't do that. And that's not their fault that they shouldn't get to see the story and have to go on like something like YouTube or somebody else's stream to go and see that. No, they should be able to experience that. That's what they get for paying the game. If you don't do that, it's not as greatly designed a game as you think it is. So that's it. Yes, does David Scott Jaffe say some things that are really really outlandish? Sure. Yeah. Some things he's like unjustified. In that specific moment, was he like unjustified there? Yeah. Like that was pretty like easy part to get through relatively compared to other games. Do I agree with everything he was saying? No. But am I on the boat that this dude is like all the forums and everyone are saying that he's like fucking crazy and he's irrelevant and everything? Do I agree with them? No. No. You're just promoting something that just has no reason to be promoted. There's a reason why Ghost of Tsushima was going to be nominated for Game of the Year. It was like basically runner-up. Why so many people love that game and say it was the best game last year. Final Fantasy VII Remake is another game. Did it have one difficulty? No, it didn't. Even something as difficult as Doom Eternal has fucking difficulty settings. It's not that hard to put in there. You don't want to put it in your games, fine. But From Software, whoever developer of Metro Dread is, I almost said Blue Point. I almost said Arcane too. House Marquee. Games like these, guys, just put a difficulty setting. It's not that hard. Or make your game slightly easier and then put a harder thing at the end of the game. Hades. And let the fans just, play the game you want to play at your speed. So that's it. You want to hate on me, whatever. You don't have to agree with me, but you know I'm right. You know I'm right that when you can enjoy the game that you paid for, you should be able to enjoy the game. Instead of not being able to play a game because it's too hard. Just make a difficulty setting. It's not that fucking hard.